Alright, welcome back to my updated beginner's guide. In this video we're going to go through one of my most popular videos on what you should do on exactly every single budget on Sorare. This is the updated version, so it's changed a little bit from last time. I've got a nice timeline to go through, so let's get into it. Starting off, if you've got less than £20, anywhere from 0 to 20, what I think you should be doing is playing the free casual league, right? So I explained this a little bit in the last video, so I won't go into it too much in depth, but basically it's a chance to win something for nothing. You get a load of common cards, you can play in that league, and you're playing against everyone else with a chance to win 100 cards a week, or every game week I should say. So that's even better chances. Of course it's tough to do, but you're playing for free, so it makes a lot of sense. This also works if you've got £20, because that's really not enough to get to the stage where you can put a couple of players out. I think you could buy a nice player for £20, and what that allows you to do then is to build on the free games. So if you don't know what the free games are, basically Sorare enables different users or different platforms to use their Sorare cards. For example, you can come over to the Sorare Academy here. So here you don't need any cards, right? This is all linked to your Sorare account, and you can just go through and pick a team for absolutely nothing for a chance to win. You know, sometimes it's card rewards, sometimes it's nothing, but you know, it's another chance of just learning the game, learning the scoring metrics, see who's good, and you're able to put your team out. You compete against everyone else for a chance to win something. Usually it'll tell you what's up for rewards. So here, the top 50 managers each week, you get a Sorare card, and that's not the only one. So if I was to pick on Captain Sorare here, it's exactly the same thing where, you know, you go into a region, and in this one, all you need is one card. Again, you log in with your Sorare account. There's sometimes rewards, sometimes there's not, so just look on there, you'll see exactly whether it's worth playing or not. But if you are a beginner, all of these are worth playing to basically increase your knowledge of the game. There is also the Sorare Data Leagues and the Sorare Mega Leagues, but I'll leave them for when you go up the division and you have a little bit more budget to spend. The next budget tier is from £20 to £100. I think at this level you should kind of understand the game a little bit more, and you can start playing the Academy pretty consistently. I explained a lot about it in the last video again, so do watch that if you haven't already. But basically, the Academy is the first step into the pay-to-play model, right? So here you get a chance to win something, but you're not competing against everyone else playing Sorare. You're just competing against yourself. So 440 points will get you a tier 2. If you can consistently hit that point threshold, that'll be absolutely fantastic. You'll be turning ETH in no time. You can build up a balance and then grow into the next strategy. So we'll get onto the next strategy. The next budget tier then is between £100 and £250. This is a really interesting region, which I think most people will fall into. And my advice would actually be to not try and put out teams, because it can be quite hard to compete, especially on the, say, lower end around £100. But what I'd suggest is trying to, you know, trade so you can build up your balance a lot quicker. You know, a lot of people on Sorare are not prepared weeks in advance. If you have the time on your hands where you can plan demand patterns, for example, looking at the special weeklies and how they're going to adapt. A player like me hasn't got time to go in and see all the different rules each week, but they have the cards where they can compete in these leagues, and they might just need 1 or 2 pieces to complete their team. So you'd be looking to set up people like me, selling at a premium price, and I'll be willing to pay that as long as the demands are good. We saw this like in the European competitions. In the off season, there wasn't much football to play. All of a sudden, the Nations Leagues come back. People with easy fixtures like Turkey spike in price, and if you've been watching the channel, you know I bought into the hype late, so I paid the premium and ended up not getting much back for it. But you are supplying these cards. Alternatively, that is also a little boring at the same stage. So what you can do is, whilst you're buying these cards, you can feed into these tournaments if you're, you know, not able to sell them before the deadline. But how do you know when these tournaments will happen? Obviously, basically, if you go over to Sorare, the like medium.com/Sorare, you can find out all the calendars. These are also posted on Discord or on Twitter, so don't worry about that. But essentially, it tells you all the different game weeks for the next 4 coming game weeks and what cards people are going to need. So there's special weekly rules, so, you know, less than 50 average players will be interesting. You know, the Specialist Limited League is a huge one. Not just limited, rare as well, but, you know, on that strategy, you're probably looking at limited. The Specialist Limited League, right? It's very narrow, it's very niche to get players that score less than 40 in their last 15 games. If you can buy a player that's got a really favourable fixture, then you can sell that into the demand of the week. And like I said, if you really fancy your chances in that, you could possibly put out your own team to compete in it. And this becomes especially useful example when you look at the Special Freakly, where you only need 3 cards, or some of the other cards, you know, where, you know, for example, the Underdog League, if you were able to buy a goalkeeper that was playing for that week, you could trade him. If you weren't able to sell him, you could play him in a team. It's basically a mixture between the trading platform, you know, where you're buying players which are going to come into demand, and when you can't sell them, you enter them into these tournaments. This can also account into like the All-Stars, for example, where you can play them there. The next budget tier is £250 to £1,000, so you're getting pretty serious now. I hope you understand how the matrix works at this point, who's a good scorer, who's a bad scorer. And for me, what I would do is pretty easy. I think it's just a limited division. What I would do is focus on one particular division. Say, for example, that could be Challenger Europe. If you have a real buff knowledge of Challenger Europe, or you've got enough time to drill down into Sorare data and get that knowledge, I think that's perfect for you to just target one division where you can become really successful with that team. One of my key tips here would not be to buy 5 of your best players. I would buy 10 players, right? And I would pick your teams based on who's got fixtures that are favourable, basically. The big advantage to this is basically that not only does it let you have favourable fixtures, but when a player gets injured, you're not going to have to panic sell, you're not going to have to sell at a loss. And that's one of the biggest issues like new users come into. So you pick your 5 best players, you've spent all your budget on 5 players, right? As soon as someone's injured, you have to panic sell them. And then it's a massive downgrade because you've got half the cash you did on him. Whereas if you've got, say, 10 players in your gallery, not only can you pick favourable fixtures, right? But then in the event that something does go wrong, you're not, shoehorned into a corner of getting a worse player, or maybe you don't want to buy a worse player and then you only have 4 cards available for that week. It can cause these awful situations. So I know everyone wants to go out and buy the best players, but I'm telling you, try and stay a bit more reserved. Try and get 10 players for the price of 5 players. Obviously they're going to be lower scoring players on average, but that doesn't mean they don't have their spikes and, get decisive actions. So yeah, that's what I'd be doing on that. A lot of people like to overstretch, so say they can afford 10 players, they're going to go into 2 divisions, so Champion Europe and Challenger Europe. If you try and keep it to 1 division, I think you'll be far more favourable. So let's say you're playing Champion Europe, you have 10 players. If you've got 10 available, you can slot the other 5 into All-Star, you still have your double the chance. That's one of my key tips, which I think is hugely overlooked by new joiners. Finally, then we get into the £1,000 plus threshold, and obviously this could be, say, £1,000 to £100,000. I'm kind of talking in the £1,000 to £2,000 region, or maybe even £10,000. What I would do here is a hugely debated topic. I am the limited whale. I love the yellow cards, one of 1,000 players. I've got an Mbappe, I've got a Neymar, I've got a Messi, but a lot of other people that have been on the platform just as long as me, have just as good a knowledge, would consider the rare thresholds what you should go for. If you don't know what the thresholds are, let me show you here. My big caveat is that going into the new season, these rare thresholds, you will need to have a rare goalkeeper. If you're watching old content, you used to be able to use a common goalkeeper, which brought down the cost significantly, but now you need 5 rare players, right? This common rule right here will be changing very shortly, but the reason why everyone plays All-Star is because forgetting about, the prizes here, forgetting about the top prizes where you have to be, top 330 to win, which can be hard. All you need to do is score 250 points to get £42. This obviously changes, but the amount of ETH you get changes with prices fluctuation, but 250 points remain static. And there's also an initial threshold of 205. So if you don't reach that, you can get the 205 thresholds. And if you played Sorare, you'll know 250 points is really not that difficult with 5 cards. You just need average scorers. So why I'm not fully into this method is because in order to do that, you would need to spend a significant amount of money on a rare goalkeeper. So I'm thinking that's probably in the region of £1,000 itself. So you can cut that down and get a goalkeeper that doesn't play, but I really don't think that's an optimal strategy because there's no upside. There's no longevity with that. You can only hit the thresholds. You can't then win rewards. And also, I think people over-exaggerate how easy it is to win the thresholds. So one argument is to play the rare division for thresholds. I completely agree that could be for some people. For me, what I would personally recommend is just to improve your limited team. So I think there's far more fun to be had out of winning the limited teams. And I think you're consistently winning prizes which add up to, similar value to the rare players. Obviously, I can't speak for you specifically because it all comes down to basically how good at the game you are. But I would say if you have a good niche for a team, go out and get, a good limited team which you're knowledgeable about. It will be a lot more fun, but like I said, highly debated topic. So if you do want to go the rare route, that's absolutely fine. The big benefit of rare cards is that, when someone wants to buy them off you, there's a lot less, so you can kind of demand a higher price. And the big benefits of limited cards in general is they're a lot more liquid. So if you want to sell them, you want to get out of them, there's a lot more buyers. That's kind of where I'll leave it for now. I really hope you like this video. I tried to keep it as short and concise as possible. I'll be doing some more introductory videos. If you've got any comments, please leave them down below. If you like this, please subscribe. And yeah, all the best to you. Cheers.